primary pressing threat to sharks and rays is overfishing. That is undeniable. That is what's killing animals day after day. But climate change is becoming something that folks are getting some understanding of. What we know so far is that animals, sharks and rays that exhibit seasonal migrations from, say, a warmer or colder climate or vice versa, they're changing the timing and duration of those migrations. And simultaneously, we're seeing species that have historically lived in the tropics extending their ranges. So in the peak of summer, for example, a species that's in South Florida might be further up the East Coast than you'd expect, say, 50, 60 years ago. We're also seeing some species, again, I'm most familiar with what's going on in the southeastern United States. We're seeing some species establish nursery grounds further and further north than they might have, again, 50, 60 years ago. And so that's where the research is right now. And then at the more animal specific level, there's a lot of really good work going on, especially out of Australia, looking at the physiological impacts and behavioral impacts of climate change on some species. One of which is the Epaulette shark, which is really a model species for this, and Chris can get into that.
Yeah, I mean, different than what, we're talking about migratory species. There are more stationary species, right? And they're endemic to this area, meaning they're native here. And it's cool. There's a whole recovery program here, and there's, estimated 1,000 to 2,000 of them here. And they're really being considered sort of an indicator species. They can handle really high temperatures and anoxic conditions. Apparently, they can exist out of water and in anoxic conditions, low oxygen levels for up to 2 hours. And so because they're so tolerant, and because they're stationary, non-migratory species, they can really tell us a lot about what's happening with climate change if it continues to change and get worse over time, and especially with rising temperatures in the water. Because with that means also less oxygen in the water. And so those two things are related. And, it's a really interesting species to pay attention to, because if they start to, change in their behaviors when they reproduce in time of year, that can have a big effect on their ability to continue to exist and to recover and to, really do well. And so those are a species that we're keeping an eye on. And in addition to that, we have, on the Great Barrier Reef, coral bleaching is a major thing. In the last 7 or 8 years, including in 2014, there's been 4 to 5 major coral bleaching events from higher temperatures in the water. And so there's a lot of things going on in this area, as beautiful as it is, to effects related to climate change.